The meeting to order, the May 2nd, 2017 meeting. And I would like to ask three very special guests tonight, Brody Nadolski, Jaylene Valdez, and Naya Marie George, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi everyone, I'd like to welcome you all tonight to tonight's meeting. And I'd like the record to reflect that governing board members Annette Sexton-Rees, Ms. Donna Young, Amy McSheffrey, and myself are here. Carl Zaragoza could not be here tonight. Members of cabinet are also here. We want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary if they wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to an agenda item, and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board but wish to give your comments in writing, you can do so on a goldenrod sheet and all members will receive a copy. That takes us to the approval of the agenda.
Move the governing board approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. And actually tonight we do have several public comments. The first one I have in front of me is Dorothy Green. Come on up, Dorothy.
Good evening. I just wanted to give a quick little reflection from this past weekend. People who know me know I do not like to get up early on the weekends. I do have severe seasonal allergies. I'm usually late almost everywhere I go, and even though I grew up in a corner house with lots of grass, I've lived in a condo the last 20 years, so landscaping is not my thing. But this last Saturday, I found myself in a neighborhood in Excelencia's attendance area, digging in the dirt, planting flowers, meeting wonderful, wonderful people from the Elsinore Neighborhood Association, from one of the Wake Up Clubs, grandmas, 12-year-olds, all of us side by side, beautifying a house in this neighborhood. We were Team Orange. We took second place, which was extremely exciting. We don't know about that first place. I don't know, the backhoe thing was kind of sketchy, but it was phenomenal to be out there and to see one of my proudest moments as a Creighton employee, neighborhoods working together. Administrators, I think Sue was out there, Amy, I know you were out there, Donna, you were out there, Jay, you were out there, all kinds of teachers, classified staff, students, neighborhood association people, all working together to make a neighborhood better for everybody. And it was just a really, really proud moment. And I want to encourage us. I really appreciate Creighton Foundation for setting up these kinds of projects. We've been down there putting curb things in and cleaning up trash. And it's amazing. I've never felt an ownership of a neighborhood so strongly as I do now, just in that neighborhood in Excelencia's attendance area. I drive by and I'm like, oh, that's where we picked up trash. Hey, wait, is that a piece of trash on the ground? Let me grab it. I mean, it's just amazing the ownership and the relationship that you can develop working inside a neighborhood. And I really hope that the board continues to sponsor and collaborate on those kinds of projects, because I think that's one of the things that makes Creighton great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Next up we have Teresa, it's hard to read, Villegas. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Come on up, Teresa.
I'm a mother of children at Biltmore Prep Academy. I just wanted to talk about how hard it's been for my 6th graders. They've been A students all the way up until 5th and love school. They love going to school. It wasn't until 6th grade. And then they lost their love of learning. They didn't want to go to school anymore. We have great teachers at Biltmore. We have a great principal. Everybody's wonderful. But I don't know if it's just our school or if it's other schools too that are having a problem with 6th grade, where it's a culture shock. They don't know what to do. They get a lot of homework. They have a lot of demands on them, more than they've ever had before. And the teacher-parent communication kind of pretty much stops. And so we're kind of, even though they say contact us, it's just really hard because we're used to helping them, making sure their homework and all that. I think it's just something that they really need to, that Creighton School District would need to add into their curriculum. Something like a time management, something like a life skills management, because yes, they've had binders and they put the little things in their binders and they separate and they organize their classes, but it's not teaching them how to organize their time, how to chunk their time up so that they can understand that they only have so much time in class, and whatever they don't get it done in class, they have to do homework, and the homework becomes, it's exponential. If they don't get done in class, they have to do it at homework. So homework, they had like 2 hours of homework this year, especially in the beginning of the year, and then sometimes it's only like 1 hour, sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it's like half an hour. I'm a big proponent of less homework because they're in school 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes. So whatever, and I know the teachers are doing the best they can to get the curriculum out there and what they have to do, but they don't have enough time to get everything within that time period. So I think it would be really beneficial if you guys would seriously consider some kind of life management, life skills, or some kind of time management, and something kind that you could add that they could help organize themselves, because this is going to help them get into 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and high school. And I didn't even get this in college. But if the demands are so high, and the shock of what they have, it's all them right now. I know that's a big part of it. It's a big part of growing up. But I would really appreciate if there was some way we could enter into the curriculum of Creighton School District and make it a little bit easier for them to transition from elementary school into middle school, if that makes any sense. I'm not sure. It's just like they love learning, they love school, and then as soon as 6th grade came, it was like, they hated it. They got D's and F's, they never got that before. They hated going to school, it was just horrible. And I know it's a big change, but I just think if they knew how to structure their time, it would be better. And I know it would really help me getting them to school and not having to fight or have to be an hour late just because they're melting down and all of this. So that's my request, is that you would consider including in the curriculum some kind of time management or some kind of life skills. Something comprehensive, something that can really help them. Maybe you might even want to introduce it in 5th grade. I don't know, but because when they get to 6th grade, it's supposed to be all on them. It's just really hard. So that's what I have to say. That's my 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And we have one more public comment tonight from Kathy Hannafin.
Thank you, Creighton Governing Board, Dr. Lewis, the rest of district leadership and staff. I live in the Monte Vista Boundaries, and my twin boys are in the FLI program at Biltmore Prep in the 6th grade. They've been in the program since kindergarten, which was the first year of the program. I'm here today to let you know that many of the current 6th grade parents, both FLI and traditional, recently requested a meeting with Dr. Lauren and Dr. DeMar to discuss a number of ongoing concerns in middle school at Biltmore Prep. These meetings took place last week. All of the middle school staff and teachers attended the Monday night meeting. Dr. Lauren conducted a brainstorming activity. We were able to come up with a long list of opportunities for improvement. Dr. Lauren compiled this list and sent it to all of the Biltmore families through Monday mail yesterday. The opportunities for improvement really run the gamut, including academic achievement, particularly in math. In our case, we're not seeing progress with our boys in math achievement. There are other students who are advanced in math and whose parents are interested in more of a challenge, like algebra that's not currently offered at Biltmore Prep. We are in need of experiences to support learning in science, like lab work, field trips to ASU, STEM high schools, and bringing those experiences to them. There was just one academic-related field trip this year in 6th grade, which was to Skateland last week after AC Merritt. There's a need for Spanish conversation opportunities in FLI. There's a need for after-school programs in middle school like robotics, Odyssey of the Mind, and academic clubs. There's also a need, as Teresa said, for consistent and effective teacher communication to parents, life skills, including organizing work, and reasonable discipline, homework, and grading policies that motivate students and create a positive environment. None of the opportunities for improvement that were identified at the meeting were unreasonable, expensive, or unusual. They were all characteristics that you would expect in any quality middle school. The meeting was titled the Middle School Planning Meeting, and the 4th and 5th grade parents were invited as well. Parents were also invited after the meeting to join a middle school planning committee. This planning will be important to reduce attrition at middle school and Biltmore Prep over the next few years. However, for us current 6th grade parents and 7th grade parents, we're not planning for middle school. These gaps identified are affecting us right now. Keep in mind some of the challenges of our 2 grades. We have few cohorts compared to those behind us. There's one FLI and one traditional class in each grade. The current 6th and 7th FLI classes are the leading edge classes in FLI, so we've expectedly endured some growing pains. We've lost many families and students in these 2 classes over the last couple of years. I counted off the top of my head 15 students that we've lost in these 2 leading edge FLI classes who left around the 5th grade. Accounting really for about a total of 25 students leaving Biltmore Prep when you count in that their siblings often left with them. I am also very concerned that 5th grade students currently may not be returning next year. We are now undergoing a leadership transition, and the infrastructure improvements that are planned at Biltmore Prep that will benefit middle school will not be ready in time or in much time for our students to utilize. I hope that you are concerned about what I'm saying today about the needs of our middle school. I hope that you are concerned about the financial aspect of losing students. I hope that you are seeing this as truly a window of opportunity to make critical and long-lasting quality improvements. Due to the urgency of this matter for current middle school students and those incoming next year, I'm asking the governing board to please add Biltmore Prep Middle School to a governing board agenda item to be addressed as soon as possible. The list we developed was a great start, but planning meetings need to occur for the remaining of this year and over the summer. Many improvements need to be in place on day 1 of the upcoming school year. I'm also asking that district administration and school leaders be transparent with parents about any upcoming decisions affecting staffing, class size, combination of classes, or any other change that impacts our children. Thank you for this time. We look forward to working with the district administration, Dr. Lauren the remainder of the year, Dr. DeMar next year, and Biltmore Prep teachers and staff to ensure that these good outcomes and experiences happen for our current middle school students and for those that come after them. Thank you.
Thank you. And that will take us to, item 4A, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Well, I want to echo back what Dorothy Green shared, and that was that we had a really amazing partnership with the Creighton Community Foundation, who took the lead in organizing an Increase Your Curb Appeal contest, and then wanted to recognize the governing board in the district and awarded us with the Increase Your Curb Appeal Contest 2017 Creighton School District. We thank you for your support and appreciation of your ongoing support for Creighton's community. So this is from our foundation. Now just make sure that you get our secondly, we are coming up on Teacher Appreciation Week, and this is that time of year when we call it the 100 Days of May, and it's day 2 and feels like week 2 because May just is right. Am I right? And May is just filled with performances and end of the year wrap up and getting ready for next year while closing out this year. And I just, in the name of thanking our teachers, want to say how much on behalf of the whole governing board And all of those of us get to work alongside of you and with you. Thank you for everything you do. We have so much gratitude for your choosing this noble and highly respected profession. When the politics pulls us to the side and attempts to bash or belittle, we're bigger and better than that, and the Creighton teachers deserve a huge round of applause for being just amazing people. And we'll be sending a little gift to our teachers and all staff members throughout the next week. We're going to get something to them, so we'll save that one for later. And finally, you know how creative teachers are. We turn everything into a creative opportunity. Well, Sarah, is it Larkin? Did I say her name right? Sarah Larkin led our mentor-mentee program. And they just had a fantastic celebration of our first and second year teachers being mentored by our veteran teachers. And in her table displays where she got a donation for feeding 45 people from My Slice of the Pie. But on her own time and in concert with her partner in crime, Gina, where are you, Gina? You're out there. There you are. They made these adorable, of course, because that's how we teachers are. This is a Rolo's candy shaped like a pencil with a little chocolate kiss at the end. And then instead of it saying Mentos, is that what it is? Mentos, it says Mentor. Then she changed the R to match, and thank you for being so great. So they wanted to make sure the board had this as a gift as well. So we want to thank our mentor leaders, our mentors, and our mentees again for just being creative and supportive and focusing on making sure that all of us who choose this challenging and rewarding profession feel supported. So thank you very much, and that's the end of my report. Which one? Oh, no, I'm sorry. On the agenda, it reads that we're going to recognize Eric Dupin. Eric is with family for a reason tonight, so we'll move that to next week.
I have a question on that agenda item.
Yes, ma'am.
He completed his doctorate at Northern Arizona University. I was just wondering where that is located.
There's a little typo there.
Oh, it's a northern. Yeah, it's more northern than the other northern.
I got it.
Yeah. More northern.
It's like Hogwarts, you have
Have to go through 9 3/4 on the, yeah.
All right, that takes us to item 4C, Governing Board Reports. Ms. Sexton-Reese, did you have anything to report tonight?
Yes, I did want to report, I have some exciting news. I received word from Lydia Guzman with Chicanos por la Causa that the Mexican consulate is interested in doing a series of forums about immigration and about just many different aspects of it. And they're very impressed with Excelencia School, and they're very impressed with Creighton School District, and they're hoping to be able to host these forums in this coming year with our district and with our school. So that's something that Dr. Lewis is going to work out, and I'm just very excited and very honored. This is, the representation from the country of Mexico that is like this. So I'm just really excited about that, and hoping that in seeing that we have lots and lots of families that would benefit from these forums and the community. It's really for everybody, and I know probably more than likely Telemundo and Univision will also be wanting to attend. So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Young, did you have anything for Governing Board reports tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay. Ms. McSheffrey?
I'll just kind of echo what Ms. Green and Dr. Lewis. I talked about Creighton Community Foundation. I was able to attend and honored to be a judge for the event, so I couldn't do any of the hard work since I was judging, but it was a great event. It was a great event, and I was really happy to be there and see the great turnout. Thanks to all the teams that did the actual hard work. It was awesome to see the finished product.
Thank you. And I have nothing to report tonight. That will take us to approval of consent agenda items.
Move the governing board approve consent A through J in accordance with policy BEB B-R.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm humbled and I thank you, and it's wonderful to serve this community, and I'm gonna cry if we keep going, so thank you so very much. It was under consent, and I just wanna take a moment to say, I can't believe 2 years has passed. I can't believe how functional and normal and appropriately, we can have tension and move forward, and I just can't thank you enough for being an awesome board. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, oh, good. We are going to hear some poetry now. Item 6A, the recognition of district poetry contest winners.
President Castine, board members, Dr. Lewis, council members, it is a great pleasure and always a treat to have our poetry winners come and present before the board. And so I'd like to introduce Ms. Libin, as she is going to share a little bit about the process, and then we get to have the pleasure of hearing some delightful poetry.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and executive cabinet. Again, my name is Miriam Lippman. I'm the Special Projects Director for Literacy. And tonight, as many of you probably know, is one of my favorite nights of the year. I'm joined this evening by poets from across the district who were selected as first place winners in their particular grade levels. But before I ask them to come up and paint pictures with their words, I'd like you to join me in thanking the teachers of these wonderful poets for fostering creativity, the poetry coordinators who ensured that their entries were submitted on a timely basis, the parents, guardians, and special people in the lives of these talented writers. Please stand up and be recognized. Please stand up. And I'd also like to ask Dr. Lewis to help me present the books and awards. And first up, I'm going to call Naya Marie George, who's going to read us the book.
Jackie's voice he needs hugs from his friends who play in the sun. They play all day, he runs away to his dinner party.
Good job.
Next up, Jaylene Valdez from Miss Leone's class in Creighton School, who's going to entertain us with her version of Puppy.
Puppy brown, small, chubby, pretty, running so cute.
In second grade, Brody Nadolski is going to talk to us about a nasty but he is in Miss Lopez's class.
There once was a boy named Doug. He ate a big nasty bug. It was a goodie. He got a hoodie, and then he gave his mom a hug.
I'm gonna give you like a bug hug, right?
Next up, third grade, Ella McNeil is going, from Miss Barris's class, is going to read her poem, All About Lily.
There once was a cat named Lily. She acted a little bit silly, and she fell like that and made a big splat, and that was all about Lily.
No, you don't, okay, no silly faces. Okay, this one. I'm doing a silly face in a second. No. Okay, that's for you.
I just wanted to make sure that our fourth grade was not here because I will read her poem instead. It's Briseida Ramirez del Carmen. Is from Miss Consuelo Stout, and the name of her poem is My School, and she is from Mackin School. Mackin is safe. Mackin is as beautiful as the sandy beach. When I go to Mackin, it's a happy world indeed. Mackin is where I go. Mackin is where I glow. I love this place, so safe and calm. Mackin is lovely, like a romantic restaurant. Mackin is fun, so big of a playground. So many games to play all around. Mackin is as huge as an ocean wave. At Mackin, I can learn a lot of stuff. Mackin is magnificent enough. Mackin is school. Come to this school.
We should have that one on the Mackin website page, I think.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. In sixth grade, I'm going to ask Reynaldo Gonzalez from Creighton School in Mrs. Ruiz's class to come and read his poem, The Different Kinds of Friends.
The different kinds of friends. Everyone needs a friend, a nice friend, a responsible friend, or even better, a positive friend. The list will never end, the different kinds of friends. They could be anything, or they could also be amazing. But the one that might stay the longest is the one that is always honest. They can be supportive, so they could also be supportive. They'll tell you to never give up. And when you ask for an idea, they'll always respond with a yup. But last and not least, is the one that's always pleased. But whatever you do, he will give you a thank you.
Okay. And now I'd like to invite Lucina Alexis from Gateway School in Ms. Casimir's class to read My Tears.
My tears. The tears on my face dripped as I saw you leave the door. Every day I thought it wasn't a goodbye, it was hello. Some days I would cry and cry thinking about the good times and wishing you'd come back in my life. I got so self-centered about my feelings that I learned 1,000 ways to hide them. One day in the night, my tears went and cried when you came back. Oh, the joy in my eyes when I saw that you were alive. I finally slept tonight, no tears from my eyes. Then you left, but this time is for a long time. I still cried and cried until I realized I forgot to say goodbye. But I know I will still love you until I die, even if my tears can't hide.
How moving was that?
Oh my God, that was so moving. That's my niece, y'all.
Yeah, I see you.
My seventh grade, unfortunately, is not here. It's Jimena Marquez from Creighton School in Mr. Teran's class. And it's my dad, and it's my privilege to read it. If I write a story about how it'd be sad, you weren't always there for me, but yet still made me feel bad. Left me and my family and still got mad. Sadly, you didn't last long by my side. Even though you weren't with me, I'll always be with you till the day I die. I also want to say thank you for all your lies. I hope you're having a fun time with your other family, and it sucks that you're not with mine. 2, the guy who helped my mom create me but left, my dad. In 8th grade, I'd like to invite Abigail Puenta from Creighton School in Miss Davis's class, who happens to be here tonight, to read An Immigrant's Life.
An immigrant's life. An immigrant person wakes up hoping to have another day with their family. People do not see how much they try. These humans should be treated equally because if we take off all the skin, we are all the same. In society, we are considered rapists and job stealers, but we create jobs to support our family. We just want a better life for our kids. They want to give us a life they never had. Now they believe in the impossible. They don't want to get separated from their families. They came here to be free. Then they realized this country is not as free as they assumed. All we wanted to do was create a difference. We are not rapists, we are not job stealers, we are not drug dealers. And we're here to make a change.
About you, but it was pretty emotional. So could you please help me join and give them a great big round of applause for all of our
Thank you so much to everybody who read their poetry. I love every single year getting this little book of poetry, and you all are just so talented, and I love that you came and gave us this opportunity to hear all of your talent. Thank you. And thank you to the teachers who helped facilitate this as well, and to help grow your poetry. I love poetry, so thank you. Yes, and the parents as well. That will take us to the next agenda item, which is our English Language Arts Adoption Update.
And if the parents do want to leave, so I don't want you to feel awkward about it, it's perfectly okay. Woo, Naya!
Thank you, parents and students.
I guess not. I know when at 6:30 with several applications.
Well, thank you. I was going to say
There's a lot of
You know what, I literally have
had that thought while we're
and they started seeing. I had higher
That's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, yours. Yeah. Like, never mind. Not you. Not
Where am I supposed to? Am I supposed to be in this? I'm not supposed to be in this. Oh, is it three generations? Are you as tall as I am now? It took like I'm in class. I'm 5'7" and now she's probably 5'7". Well, yeah, this is her. I know. That's really weird. Ready?
I saw your son the other day at school. He was coaching running. That's nice for him. It's good. It's cool when he's involved. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Last name is good. No, it doesn't matter. Never first street. It's different. Yeah, old my size. Right. Yeah. Take the ball. Yeah, you got
All right, photo opportunities over, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and learn more about the English Language Arts Adoption Hour.
Madam President, board members, cabinet members, I don't think, first of all, I don't think we should have been more eloquently reminded as to why we are here and what we do. That was incredible. Ms. Littman, thank you very much. It was just, lovely. So next, we would like to share throughout the year. We've been bringing you updates as to where we've been in the progress of implementing the new language arts adoption. And we would like to close out the school year this year with a review of where we've been and what's been taking place and what our next steps are. So I'd like Mrs. Littman to come up, and she's going to introduce some very special guests.
Good evening again, Madam President, members of the board and executive cabinet. It is my privilege tonight to bring to you an update on English Language Arts, otherwise known as ELA adoption. I'm joined tonight by three wonderful educators from across the district. Samantha Rhodes from Excellencia School, Kendall Gooden from Biltmore Prep, and Taya Davis from Creighton School. In our time together tonight, we're going to provide you with a status to date, a look into the resources. My colleagues will provide their perspectives on how the adopted resources are helping to strengthen their instruction. And lastly, my favorite, you will hear the voices of our students from across the district via video. The long-range goals of our ELA adoption are twofold. Number one, support teachers in developing innovative, creative, and relevant learning experiences. And number two, maximize student potential by creating learning opportunities that culminate in our district's vision of our students adventurous thinkers, collaborative learners, and kind-hearted leaders. So these are our goals as defined by the strategic plan. The adoption and implementation of these resources is helping us to make progress toward our goals. We have been working on this for several years, beginning with our successful override election back in 2014, followed by this board's adoption of our English language arts materials, which made it possible to engage in initial implementation of our materials this year. This year's focus, or progress towards our goals, have been in the areas of receiving and distributing materials across the district, navigating and maximizing instruction using the materials, integrating technology to support effective instruction, and planning effectively and efficiently. And so now I'd like to ask Ms. Samantha Rodas to share with you how the teachers are utilizing the resources to plan effectively and efficiently.
Thank you. All right, I was given 1 minute to show you the 1 million resources available via Wonders. So I'm going to take you on a very quick whirlwind tour of Wonders here. What you're seeing up here on the screen is the teacher dashboard. And what is the hallmark of Wonders is there is a wealth of differentiated resources. So as a teacher, I often click here on this plan button, and it shows me my calendar. I know it's hard to see, but I see all of the mini lessons available in reading, in small group differentiated guided reading, and in language arts from writing to grammar to spelling that are available to me for each day of the week. And I can kind of drag and drop them where I want to go. And it seems kind of overwhelming probably to look at all of this, but if I click on one of these lessons, so say I want to look at my comprehension strategy for the week, which is asking and answering questions. When I click on that, it's going to show me details of that one particular lesson, which you can see up here, that I would say as a teacher, but also all the available resources that students can use and that I can use as a teacher for this particular lesson. What's really amazing about it is that these resources are then also pushed out to the student iPads. They're linked up with my calendar, and they're also automatically integrated into a presentation that I can just plop up on the computer without having to do any of that work. So it's really fantastic. Like I said, I could go on and on and on, but instead I'm going to go back to our presentation here and ask Miriam to come back forward.
Thank you, Samantha. And so now I'd like to invite my esteemed colleagues to share their reflections on the impact that Wonders and StudySync have had on their instruction.
Hello, my name is Kendall Gooden. I'm the 4th grade English language arts teacher at Biltmore Prep. And one way that the implementation of Wonders has really impacted my students and their learning is the accessibility of resources to students at the individual levels. So the great thing about Wonders is that the leveled readers, assignments, practice worksheets, and online games all are available in the approaching, on level, and beyond level. So we're able to meet our students at their needs. And as a teacher, it's really nice because I can efficiently get them work that is appropriate for what they need. Another way that Wonders I have really seen growth with my students is the application of the iPads. How we have the access to the literature anthology, the reading writing workbook, as well as leveled readers on the iPads. And one of my favorite features that we have when the students are reading on the iPads is that for some of our struggling readers, they can listen to the audio. And as they're listening to it, each word that is read is highlighted in yellow. So that really is nice because they're able to follow along, and it really has aided many of my struggling readers in their comprehension. With the access to the iPad, students are also able to choose how they want to show what they know. So some might choose to fill out a graphic organizer by paper, others might choose to type it out on the iPads. And it's just been really meaningful to watch them really take action and have the choice with their learning. So now I'd like to invite Samantha Rodas again to share what she has experienced with Wonders.
Back again. again, they gave me 1 more minute. So I wanted to share with you a little bit more about the resources. Wonders, as I was saying before, has so many amazing resources, but one in particular has been particularly empowering for my students and for me as a teacher, and that is the differentiated leveled readers, and in particular our nonfiction readers. So there are 3 different levels. There's the approaching level, on level, and beyond level. And typically in other programs, you'll have various texts for each student, and you can work with them in a small group, and that's fantastic. But what is amazing about Wonders is that they provide you the exact same text for all abilities to read. So I'm not talking about 3 texts on the water cycle, I'm talking about the same title text, the same format, the same photographs and diagrams, the same content, but just with a different text complexity, so that all of my students are able to engage with, discuss, reflect that text at their own reading level, and the conversations. It's so empowering for them to be able to access that text, especially for those struggling readers who have felt like, oh, I have to read this childish book instead of the book that the rest of my classmates are reading. They get to read that exact same content. It's been amazing, and it's been amazing for me as a teacher as well. The other thing that I want to share with you is about our Writers Workspace. So this is an English language arts program. It's not just reading, and writing is a really complicated subject to teach and to learn, and we have many different opinions about how to do that, but one thing we know is that students need models of good writing. And Wonders not only provides models of exemplary student writing for all these different genres, but also models of exemplary pre-writing, and how do I find that text evidence, and models of how do I revise this text, how do I edit it. And it has been amazing to see the students really reflecting on their writing process while looking at these student examples and see how it's elevated their work. Now I'd like to introduce Taya Davis to talk a little bit about StudySync in middle school.
I teach 8th grade English language arts at Crichton Elementary School. And the first thing that I noticed about StudySync is the ease of access. The transition from the traditional textbook for my students and myself was incredibly easy, so it made my planning that much easier as well, which is one of the things I love about StudySync is the differentiated lesson plans. So as Samantha mentioned, there are tremendous resources, but my lesson plans are detailed down to almost scripted for a teacher for different English language development levels as well as ability levels. So again, my students can all have the same text, but they can access it in different ways. So they are taking ownership of the material, and we can have engaging, enriching, and productive discussions about the text. In addition, I appreciate that StudySync has a variety of text for the students. So one unit does not just contain fiction in isolation, there's nonfiction, there's poetry, and that diversity allows for us to have, again, meaningful discussions, but also they are able to glean a different understanding of the text and the topic that they might not have gotten had they just done fiction. For example, we just finished the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, and my students were able to extract information that I didn't think they would get had it not been for the diversity of the texts. And also, the diversity allowed for us to have connections to our outside, to the world around us. So not only did we have a discussion about social justice within the context of Frederick Douglass's world, but we were able to apply it to modern day society. So the diversity is amazing. Thank you.
So you've heard from the teachers, but what about what the students think? It was important that we capture student perspectives from across the district. So what I want to tell you that it was truly a gift to be able to sit and listen and dialogue with the students. They were thoughtful, they were truthful, they were articulate, but I'll let you see for yourself.
Accessibility, choice, text-based discussion.
Purposeful reading.
Building knowledge through collaboration.
Texts that are reading level. I find it with vocabulary. those games help you with your vocabulary. It gives you your spelling list and your spelling words so you can practice.
That you learn all about that subject and you get a week to learn about it.
Entertaining, and also different text structure.
Things like text structure, topics, and other fun materials. Once you're done, it shows like a little example of what you're learning, what you just read, so it will help you out with your work.
Strategies to understand the text.
I love that Wonders have examples of writing.
So it helps me think deeper because sometimes it asks to cite evidence, so you gotta go back to the text, read thoroughly, so you get a better idea of what's it about.
It provides me with discussions.
But sometimes our teacher gives us the choice to do it on paper or on our iPads, and we can both by using, for example, iPads to look at the text and go back and check our.
Last year, there used to be like all like these kid books, and now in fourth grade, these Wonders books have like more complex language, and they have like more interesting details, and it gives us more and more to learn about. The subject is inside.
Oh no.
So, reviewing what we learned.
This year, you have a lot of illustrations that help understand the text.
I feel like multiple choice questions you could easily guess, whereas in study sync, like you have to actually support your answer, and it helps you be sure about your answer also.
Questions are more thoughtful.
You get to learn the text structures with the passages. There are also very exciting, intriguing passages. You can highlight to help you, and you can take notes.
Last you're given like a short excerpt, not an excerpt, like a short story or explanation of something, and then on the sidebar you're asked a question and you're supposed to like find evidence from the answer.
The main ideas, and it all comes together into one academic subject, and I really like that about reading.
Using laptops, it helps me take.
You have two similar pieces of information, but in two different areas. You can highlight it the same color and use that as a reminder.
It looks like she cares a bit more because, like, before she just assigned it to us and then we have to listen to her. And now it's like we work together. She could, like, know where exactly we are and like, help us from there.
Study Sync, she could give us like more details out of what we have to write. Like she helps us with our notes. She follows along as we follow. It's like we're working together with her, and it's not like separation. Like she writes down the notes and we follow.
Like she can teach more comfortably. She can see where going on, where we're like the pace that we're going, and from there she has like a better understanding of how she can help improve. Or like
Last year it would be mostly things she would have to copy it down on a projector, but now it's more individually. Like she'll give us a prompt, she'll explain the prompt, she'll do everything to help us, and then we had to do it on our own, so we could actually learn.
So get us working on our opinion, and then we have to collaborate with others on that, preparing us for group discussion order.
And this was great because it's teaching me how to write better. It's no longer short sentences, it's sentences with evidence, prompts that are longer.
that it's helping prepare us for high school because Study Sync is online. And when we get to high school, we're gonna have like much more access to online work.
So as with any large-scale adoption, there are some challenges. Most of the reported challenges center around time, not enough time to get through all the components. a spiral curriculum, a different way to teach the standards and approach them, not mastery after 1 or 2 weeks, but standards that are taught and revisited throughout the year. So these are our next steps: to provide PD for incoming teachers on how to navigate the resources. Number 2, to work with Curriculum Cabinet this summer to identify standards that need more focused attention with realistic time blocks now that we've had a year into it. And number 3, continue our work of making connections between general education and our reading interventionists. And I'd like to close by saying, reading you this quote from Kofi Annan: "Literacy is the road to human progress and the means through which every man, woman, and child can realize his or her full potential." And I stand ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions about, go ahead.
To the teachers, you seem to all like this, and the students seem to all like it as opposed to last year. Other than time, what is your biggest criticism of this curriculum?
One minute.
Fine time. I think the thing that has been the most challenging, Miriam touched on this a little bit, is that the actual teacher materials and the directions for how to teach a standard are very limited. So if you are a teacher who's relying on this teacher guide as though it were the script and was going to teach you everything about how to explain main idea to your students, you're going to fall short because there's just not enough information there. There's a wealth of resources to do it, but it's not all there for you to just read that lesson plan. So it's not necessarily a criticism of Wonders, but it's just a thought about how we're using Wonders. We need to make sure that we're coming at it with still all of our wealth of knowledge about the standards and how to teach them and not rely solely on what's scripted on the page.
Thank you. Yeah, do you have any others?
Actually, I was just going to reiterate how much I actually appreciate StudySync, especially at the middle school level, because there is a level of rigor that was missing before. There is a level of rigor that was missing before. So, other than the time, but yes, being very cognizant of your standards is still, the fundamental of teaching. So if you go in thinking, yes, this is going to give me everything I need, then that would be naive. But I think that just comes down to the preparation, instructional level.
So my comment is just more from what some of my colleagues have mentioned to me, especially in the lower grades. They are struggling with the shift to spiraling, kind of what Miriam had mentioned before. And since our district was so standard mastery before, I think that just that shift for a lot of our teachers, I know in the lower grades, they're struggling with they feel like that's not enough time to get those foundations down for them. I haven't had those issues in 4th grade moving forward, but I think that spiraling shift is something just that a lot of our teachers are struggling with right now.
And it's a trust access issue too. It's like,
yes.
No, that's not going to happen again. Now it's over.
Now
there's a trust about, okay, I will get it again. They will get it again. They will get it again.
And I think next year the attitude will be much different because they do know the main idea comes back and point of view comes back. So I think next year will be teachers will be much more at ease with it. So.
Thank you all very much.
Anybody else have any other questions? I'd just like to say thank you for, I know that I've seen your face before for sure. And I may or may have not before, but I just appreciate the way that you have really jumped in feet first and embraced this and been excited about it, because your excitement really shows at every board meeting that you come to. And I almost wish that I was, a kid again so I could be in your classroom. I also appreciate the fact that you're teaching our kids about Frederick Douglass, because, one of them might be president someday, and it's good to know if he's alive or dead. Thank you.
That was funny.
Anybody else? All right. Thank Thank you very much for all your work on this, and thank you.
I just wanted to add a point that, as we talk about access, you know, and sometimes we talk about access just in terms of resources, but in this element, this is, I think the diversity that was mentioned repeatedly, in terms of the complexity of text, with the high interest it was a dream as when I was a teacher that we would even have something like this. So it really feels dreamy that we can have access with complexity. So that was one of my favorite things relative to equity for our kids, in terms of complex conversations. And as I think about, you know, some of the other thoughts about life skills preparation or time management or preparation, does this systemic effort for all of our middle schoolers in any way help them with that as we figure this out for life prep or high school prep? Because I heard one of the kids in the video say it'll help me with high school, and I was trying to think how I could make some systemic connections. Yeah.
All right. I think that with StudySync there is a component of needed organization. So I think, and since there are so many tasks that the students need to accomplish in order to get a well-rounded picture of what, you know, of a product, then yes, that would be a needed component. But it is also, side note, it is hard at middle school because there's a big transition. You know, just a big transition for them.
The other piece that I would add to that too is the level of student engagement that we see as we go from classroom to classroom and do observations. Is the level of student engagement required through this process is much more rigorous than what they had the opportunity to participate in one, which also is increasing the critical thinking skills that they're going to need as they continue to progress with their education, and being able to even going back to applying the mathematical practices of needing to justify, being able to go back in and cite work. So those are all things that are helping prepare them as they move forward in their educational journey. So there's a layers of in which that's taking place.
All right, thanks again. All right, that will take us to Mr. Mann, let's see, adoption of the revised, oh wait, no, I'm skipping, I'm sorry, 7A, okay. Are you going to?
President Castine, governing board members, and under personnel for pupil, the reference student is being recommended for expulsion from Creighton School District pursuant to Creighton School District Policy 16AC JKE.
I know this school board in the last couple of years, and I think it's great, has been talking a lot about restorative practices. And I can remember, not this past April, but the year before, going to an SBA breakout session on restorative practices. And without getting into detail due to student confidentialities, one thing that was said during that is a certain percentage of students that, no matter if you even work with restorative practices, that will be expelled. We have not, in my recollection, had an expulsion for the past 2 years. I don't think we had one last year. This is the first one this year. And I would like to, I guess, say restorative practices are fine, but safety is one of the main reasons, even in the poetry thing, you know, about that, my school is safe. That's why parents send their kids there. And so I feel that I would like to move to the governing board to approve to expel the reference students from the Creighton School District.
I second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on now, Mr. Mann. This is the adoption of revised number 2, 2016-2017 maintenance and operation and additional state aid budgets.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Lewis, members of the executive team. It's my pleasure, for the assistance of Dina Dumoulin, who's been our acting finance director, to share with you budget revision number 2. I was a little disappointed that there were no poems in the poetry competition about budget revisions and all the accounting rules that we work under, but you know, maybe next year. So
I think I saw a poem about nightmares in there. Yeah, sorry.
I just, and I wanted to really set the stage for this because it's interesting. In school finance, we kind of live in a time machine a little bit. So as we look at this is a budget revision for fiscal year 2017. So we're not looking ahead to next year's budget. This is still the budget year that we're currently in. And one of the items that we're going to refer to is an adjustment that's being made to budget year 16. So typically we're kind of in 3 budget years as we're dealing things because we have the immediate prior, the current year that we're in, and we're looking ahead forward to that next year. So just to set the stage with how we got to this budget, as you recall, last year was our first year with our interdependent budgetary process with meet and confer, budget advisory, and the various groups. And so recommendations came forward and based on the board's guidance on what those groups should work with, and we adopted those, and those are factored into this budget that we're looking at. And then we also had some one-time budget capacity items that were listed. And as we get into looking at some of the in-depth components of the budget revision, those will come into play, which is kind of why we're bringing them to bear. And then just to give a sense, because the questions come up a few times, well, what should we really be looking at here? What should we be paying attention to as stewards of taxpayer dollars? So if you look on that front sheet that you have that has sort of the summary page, the slide that I have up now basically is a snapshot of this lower corner here, and it really has everything that's within the budget revision summarized there. And so the big pieces are like the general budget limit, and then the unrestricted capital budget limit, and you see all those items kind of dropped out there. So the one we're showing you here is December of 2016, and you're going to see there's some changes that we're making as we go to the May revision. And Dina's going to actually kind of walk you through what are the big ticket items in there that you should be noticing that are shifts, and why are we making those shifts at this point in the fiscal year.
So I too was given 1 minute to present this, so bear with me as I get through this. You see our new M&O general budget limit there at $37.5 million and some change. It does represent a decrease of $4,506 since the revision number 1 in December. That's a direct result of our ADM reduction as it relates to just our portion of the $15 million Prop 123 funds. So while we were held harmless from our M&O budget in general, they did take budget capacity from that Prop 123 $50 million our portion, which is approximately $260,000. Which is how that reduction came about. On the good side, on unrestricted capital budget limit, you're going to see an increase of $45,813 in this revision versus the December one, bringing our total to $4.377,163. What we discovered during our internal process as we did this revision, we always kind of reconciled to ADE reports. And we did find that in fiscal year 16, there was some budget capacity that was not captured fully. So what we've done is we filed what they call a 15-915. That's to recover those funds. And we've asked for those funds to be put in this current budget year so that we can capture all of the budget capacity due to us.
So as we're looking, at things like current year funding, it's really important to keep in mind that this year only we were held harmless for that. So unless something changes at the legislature, that will come to bear on our full budget next year. But as Dina mentioned, for this current year, it only had an impact on those Prop 123 dollars.
So as we talk about carry forward, that was carry forward that was brought from last year to get us started this year. There's over $1 million that we are setting aside to address some of the one-time funds that we have in our budget capacity right now. Some of those were the gifted program, for example, and we've got 2 years worth. So we've got fiscal year 18 and fiscal year 19 to protect that program for the next 2 years. We also have some marketing that was set aside, also part of the budget committee work there. We've got some benefits prepayment that we have set aside. When you do that, you can kind of keep your payments consistent if you prepay a certain percentage. And we've also kind of held on to some funds with the unknown of current year funding coming next year. We saw what it did to the small portion of our 123 funds. Therefore, you can get the idea that there will be some type of reduction due to loss of ADM for next year's budget capacity. As far as the budget balance for the capital, it's just over 1.1 million. Keep in mind that we have a lot of projects that are started in June. They might not get completed by June 30th, or the goods haven't been received for those construction progress, so it moves to construction in progress. And that carry forward is brought forward, and then we pay those projects starting in June that end in July and August before the school year starts.
And those can also be purchases that we make as capitalized purchases. So one example I can give you is when we did do the purchase for the new curriculum adoption, the materials weren't able to be delivered until after July 1st. And so those dollars had to be sort of held in budget capacity so that we would be able to have them available when the materials were delivered.
So just to summarize, we do have a decrease in the general budget limit, just under $5,000. We talked about the carry forward in both M&O and capital, and some of the areas that we use that carryover for this year and hope to use for next year. And then we are seeking to get additional capital budget at $45,813 for this year's budget. Any questions? Okay.
Move the governing board adopt the revised number 2, 2016, 2017 maintenance and operations state aid budgets.
I second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, that will take us to item 10A, the Governing Board ASBA Policy Advisories number 567 through 570 and 574 through 583. First reading.
Governing board members, you'll see attached numerous policies, and it would be typical for us to bring you 2 or 3 at a time if they were substantive. These are all statutorily required. There are a few word changes or some omissions based on higher regulations. We did indeed pull a few to bring to you later for deeper examination because we're getting attorney advice, and we'll do those later. But in the meantime, I would move that you familiarize yourself with this for the first reading and bring any questions that you have to me before the next governing board meeting, should there be any questions on this particular slate of policy updates.
Oh, questions later? Okay.
Or now, if you want to give them to me, then we'll bring them to you later. We can bring answers.
Yeah, I did review it a bit. The very last item, I was wondering why it was deleted, relations with charter schools.
That one was not deleted. No, it's not.
It says delete right there.
The item is being recommended to be deleted through ASBA
583. Oh, you're
to totally remove it.
That is the recommendation of the policy changes to the legal policy.
Right. Yeah, we'd have to look at what the statute was. Do you remember what it was, Dr. Peterson?
Yes, it is. It's because it's the charter schools are no longer a part of the can be part of the district, so it's been totally removed.
Oh, okay.
It's something to consider.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I apologize, I was confused that it looked like see how these are marked off? I thought that's what you meant, so I just read what your question was.
Well, I'm looking at it on the iPad,
I
so.
see, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll be coming to you for action next time, but if you have something you want to get input on from the attorney, then let me know. Thanks.
All right, so that will take us to item 10B, approve Arizona State Boards Association proposals for the 2017 political agenda. And I believe that this was for those individuals on the board who felt that they wanted to actually go through and prioritize these things. I recall, had the discussion that it's kind of the same things that are on this agenda every single year, and we could spend time putting in our top 5, but the discussion on the board was kind of, if I remember it correctly, was it doesn't really matter, and that they're always kind of the same things, and it kind of depends on the legislature and if they're actually willing to look at the top 5 priorities. I mean, just based on this current legislative session, I mean, I'm of the opinion that we can put in as many priorities as we want, and there would be very little listening to local school boards about what really is important for our kids. So, that said, that's just my opinion. Does anybody want to prioritize or add any additional items or anything like that?
I'd like to prioritize in number 6 on the resources for school. Years ago, we did have funded kindergarten, and now we have funded half-day. Opinion of not only me, but many people in the garden, especially with our population, is necessary at least full day.
Well,
Funded.
so here's my question, I guess, because you will be our delegate.
Right.
So do we want to actually have it on paper, or do you want to speak to that when you go to the delegate assembly? Yeah, no, it is definitely part of their list, but as far as what we want, do we want to go forward to ASBA's delegate assembly with these in
Well, okay. How about we go the opposite direction? In that, since I'm going to be the representative, is there anything on here that you don't want me to advocate for?
Well, and I don't want to speak for the whole board because
I don't want to speak for the whole board. So if this, if something on this list is not board approved, then it's just me, and I can't represent the board. That's why I'm asking, is there something on the list that shouldn't be advocated by Creighton?
I got you. Well, a few years ago when I went to the delegate assembly, the only thing that really sticks out for me, and it's my experience in teaching high school and working with many immigrant families or families who have had to deal with the separation of families because of deportation. It's under state education policy, and it's number 8. It says increase the compulsory attendance age from 16 to 18. And yes, I think that is, I want every child to be in school until they're 18, but I'm concerned with the ideas of equity and, just making sure that this is not discriminatory, just because I've known so many students in my past who have needed to work because of things like deportation or the incarceration of a family member.
This came up last year or the year before, and basically the Native American delegates shot this one down because of the reservation and making it compulsory for kids to, because it's a different environment than what we're dealing with here.
For sure, yes.
And for them to have compulsory to 18 was not fair, they felt, and it was shot down at the last one.
Well, and yeah. I
It's
mean-
it's on it again though, and I recall it too.
And that's the thing, you go to the delegate assembly and you see just how different and diverse Arizona is with regards to its local districts. And so I don't know that that's necessarily the fight that I want to fight. I mentioned it just so people had an understanding of the potentially discriminatory nature of that for some families. But, and that's the thing, there's two sides to this point.
And I would disagree with it, with what you're saying, so.
It's a rural versus metro type.
But I mean, I have a 16-year-old. Please don't tell him, that that's the case, because he thinks he's an adult now. And I understand what you're saying. But
I think if it was to pass, I'm just have a problem with kids if they're 17 years old and not in school, being incarcerated or having that kind of condition happen. When I lived in Mexico, it was very, very normal for school to end completely. They didn't have 12 years of school; they had 9, and it ended at the 9th grade. So kids went to, I think it was 6 years of primary, and then they went to the, I forgot the name, elementary, and that ended at 9th grade. And that was it, that you were considered done. It was like high school there. But that means you're 16, and some people immigrate here at that time, and that's just another reason for them to be picked up and, arrested and things like that.
I look at it, and I graduated prior to 18, and for me to get a job, even with a high school diploma, because I was not 18, I could not, in the workforce, get money for college. So it does bring up different things.
Right, and like I said, it's not, it's just something that I want people to be mindful of because it could, it could actually be devastating for some families if their kid is now facing, the possibility of going to court or whatever. I just want it to be something that we consider because again, it's one of those really idealistic things that absolutely looks great. And of course, I want every kid to go to school until they're 18, but I just wanted to point that out. So that said, and I don't feel that necessarily the rest of the board shares my sentiment, so I feel like probably we could just go forward and agree with the things that ASBA is, and you could go and personally speak if you are so inclined about, kindergarten. So, does anybody else have any other opinions about that, concerns, questions?
I had a question. What do they, if a child gets their GED, I know it's not a law, but have they addressed that if a child gets their GED at say 15 or 16?
Okay, to be honest, I don't really know.
Okay, and so.
Is there a motion? Do we need to? Yeah.
You're approving.
We're just approving the ones that already
as
exist, right?
presented.
The ones that are already, that they have listed.
So nothing pops to the top for us that we would want to bring to their attention. This seems like an awful lot of stuff, and it's probably too much to be realistic, but I know that's just.
So do we need a motion?
No.
Well, not if you're not going to highlight something.
Are we good with that as a board?
It's moved the governing board adopt the suggested action items as outlined by the board, which will help establish. So it's as presented by ASBA, so no motion's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that we have a delegate who will represent the voice of the board effectively.
And I'll be on there.
And you're on it.
Oh, great, okay, that's right. All right. So no motion on that. That takes us to item 10C, the legislative political report.
Well, I didn't have anything, but then I just got my action alert from ASBA, which if you guys are interested, you can sign up for. So the budget has been introduced And so it is your last chance to contact your representatives. They'll be at the House at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and at Senate tomorrow at 12:45. So if there's something that you would like in the budget, don't give your legislators a call.
I have a little something to add in terms of a political report. Tim Hogan just announced a statewide lawsuit, a capital lawsuit yesterday. And it's one to watch because of just, years of neglect the capital needs of schools. There are 4 plaintiffs. There's a couple of citizens and 2 school districts that are on the lawsuit with Tim Hogan as their representative. So we'll watch that closely. I think that's a 3 to 4 year fight probably.
Yeah. I think it was on Horizon last night.
All right. That takes us already to future agenda items.
I'd like, due to our wonderful political system, both state and national, the other night it was regarding changes in the school lunch program, easing up of what was it, salt intake, fat intake, and things like that, which every kid
Whole
needs.
grains is like being eliminated.
Yeah. I'd like some type, it could be written if she can do it, written, the food services in a board bulletin, or if she wants to, she has a presentation, cool. What changes are happening due to this? I kind of was watching TV and Newswise, and this is because there's so much waste in a school in Virginia that the secretary went to, and kids don't like it. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, but have you been to our dinner program where there is hardly any waste, and so give me a break. But anyway, I'd like, what changes are foreseen for our students? Because I have noticed throughout the years, I've gone to a couple of promotional ceremonies, and the first few years, 8th graders, we had a few that were probably weighed more than me. And it's gone down throughout the years. It has gone down. I have seen a noticeable improvement in having kids, not as many kids being overweight. And I think that's great. But are we going to continue that? Anyway, I can't put that all on a yellow sheet.
Food, nutrition, wellness update.
Yes.
And perhaps the new administration's policies and how it may affect that.
Yeah. Madam President, I'm noticing on May 2nd and May 16th slate that we have board expectations on there, so we'll put that on the 16th. And I think what the board wanted to do for that particular item was reaffirm or modify the expectations that this board voted to uphold. And I'm wondering if the board would be interested in that being parlayed into a dual agenda item where the board's self-evaluation draft be considered relative to whatever the expectations are. So I don't know if it's 2 agenda items or a parlay of 1 agenda item. I just would like your opinion on how that should go for a future agenda item.
The evaluations and
Do you want
then
it together, or do you want it as a separate item?
together would make sense.
To have it
Yeah,
together.
because we can,
Or one right after the other.
Yeah.
But they'll kind of intertwine, so
Yeah.
they'll come together.
Yeah. And then secondly, on the hiring protocol that's slated for the 16th, let's just also include an update on the certification changes that are being discussed at the state level, which I think you were gonna weave in anyway, so I just wanna make sure certification is it's just hard right now, and we need to know about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else, future agenda items?
Move to adjourn.
Been moved in second, all those in favor? Aye, meeting adjourned.